I know the protocol is too.
Your choice.
My choice. Okay, let's just go right in there, get that done. We'll come back and do the meeting, and then you guys, you can stay if you want or not. Whatever. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dinner recognition. Of course, it isn't after we started the meeting, but we have the approval of minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to look over if there are any suggestions or corrections? Second, all in favor? So moved. Resolutions. EP1, resolution authorizing appointment to the Central New York Regional Transportation Board. What we've done is, if you recall, at least twice before, this group has approved to send Heather's name into becoming a representative on the Central New York Transportation Board. And we heard nothing. And we sent it back, and we heard nothing. And we sent it back. And then we asked for help from, I believe, Assemblyman Barkley. And he said, oh, the reason they're not doing anything is they won't even consider it unless you send 2 names. So therefore, we're suggesting that we put Tim and Heather as suggestions to the state. So apparently the state wants to have a say and not, if they don't have a choice, they couldn't have a say. So they don't want us to tell them who. So what this is approving that we send the 2 names, Tim and Heather, into the state so that they can have the opportunity to choose who we would like on the Central New York Regional Transportation Board.
I'll move it.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Second, resolution, EP2, resolution authorizing the Oswego County Office of Mobility Management, Office of Community Development, Tourism, and Planning to accept the 2023-2029 Section 5311 Capital Master Contract. I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second. Okay, what this is we have a contract that has to be, first it has to be a resolution. The DOT will allow us, we have to accept the master contract from DOT. Then we set up a capital project to receive the money from the state. And then the capital project will allow mobility management to receive the funds internally, and then we can disperse internally to other things. Would you say that would be the line of thought? Yes. And what it is, the federal government in this contract is giving us $629,627. The state and local, it's a match. So each, the state and the local are handing in $78,704 from the state. The local is $78,702 local. So we got a deal there. We only have to pay $2 less. So is there any other discussion or explanation of what this resolution is? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. EP3, resolution designating the certifying officer and environmental responsibility certifications for all Oswego County Community Development Block Grant programs, as we all know euphemistically as CDBG, Housing and Community Planning Grant. And it's also programs with associated administrative plans. What it is, in order to have this, the state says, federal actually, I believe, says that you must have somebody designated as the environmental person or contact. And Tim will tell you that at another CDBG grant down in Minetto, he had to go while they did a barrel of toxic waste. And he had to be there to certify that, yes, they are handling it correctly. Did you have to have a hat then, Sudha?
No, I did jokingly ask them that in all the movies I saw, that's how superheroes get their powers. And he looked at me and said, no, you just get sick.
Oh, okay.
They're not the joking type.
No.
So once we appoint him, then they will actually give us the grant. I think it's going for $1 million. It's 2 things. $1 million is for, the CDBG grants are really for infrastructure of water, sewer, even electricity. I understand. I didn't realize that they went into that as well. Septics, wells, and it has to be for people of moderate or low income.
51%.
51% has to be, yes. So what it is that in order, people will do an application, and then they will be able to get this if they are certified. And there's also another $50,000 they're giving us as a grant to look at mobile home sites throughout the county, to make sure, to ask the owners of the mobile home sites as to what are the conditions, what are things you really need help with. It's more of a survey to find out where is the need and what do we need to do. What really surprised me is I didn't realize we had 55 mobile home sites in the county. And I guess it's anytime there's 3 mobile homes or more on any lot is considered a mobile home site. So I thought that was interesting. I had no idea. Any, oh, yes, I'm sorry, Marie.
I got a couple questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, first we'll do the mobile home. So this is mobile home parks?
It's also individually owned. It's modified homes, correct?
Yeah, just
Yes, please.
a slight correction. So we have not received these money yet. We're going to be requesting them or applying for the grants. We think we have pretty competitive applications, but this is all required as part of just the application.
And I move it for discussion.
I'm sorry, Copy Ted. Yes, second.
Second.
Okay, so Tim, I'll ask you, does this expand mobile home parks or this just inspects them?
So this specifically is a planning grant only at this point. We know of a couple mobile home parks that are privately owned that has some serious infrastructure, mostly drinking water needs. Some have some wastewater issues. So in order for us to apply for the money that could be used to help, they need a plan. The state is going. So this would be to set up a plan that inventories and looks at what needs there are across the county in current parks.
We wouldn't pay for their repairs.
Well, they wouldn't be repaired necessarily as much as infrastructure. So, for example, a lot of these, there's one, I won't say the community kind of negative, but there is one that has some serious water needs because they are not connected to municipal water.
I'd like to say this, and I think historically you can look it over, but mobile home parks south of veritable culture. And Thompson sales alone just sold over $20 million. Investors are looking for them all the time from New Jersey, New York. So these are private businesses, and I have no idea why they wouldn't be held to the same level of accountability as all us individuals in this room if we had a failing septic system or didn't have potable water. It kind of seems like welfare to me. I mean, bring them up to date, guys. You're making good cash flow on this. It seems like negligent on the owner's part if we're doing that. Why wouldn't they just get a notice from the health department? Here's what you have to bring up to date.
That's a great point, and I think what this would allow for us to do, though, is have a better understanding of that on the county side. I'm sure we'll be working with the health department as well.
But does this give us a wand to wave money at them?
Not yet. It could give us the opportunity to find out where the issues are, maybe potentially give them opportunities to tie in. There will be some funds, to be very clear. This is funds that are available to low-income folks, and majority of people who live in these parks would be qualified people.
Okay, but the parks are owned by someone else
Yes, okay, that's almost always true.
who should be keeping the sites up to specs.
Sure.
I really have serious issue with this.
I think part of it too, though, is that some of the towns and villages, and be careful here and gentle with them, but some of them do not necessarily hold them accountable. It would be helpful, I think, for us as a county to know that, maybe encourage or aid them in that process.
Maybe we need to enforce the law on it.
Sure.
I mean, if you or I had a septic system in failure or exposed a child to water that wasn't potable, he would be in a world of, oh, you know what?
Marie, what we do though is we do offer those services to individuals who own them. So, say for example, we have low-income folks or moderate-income folks who have a failing sewer system or septic system. We offer a program that will aid them in as well. So it is
Well, we
that's
have
true,
this
but-
program that we've done for years, okay, that you're gonna fund with $150,000. So that's about 6 new systems, correct?
Yeah, they're
Average
very
system,
Right.
Malone told me is 25 grand
Yep.
if you were to rough guess it. So I have a serious problem with this corporate welfare on trailer parks that are worth a fortune.
I think some of it too, though, is that some of these folks they own their home, they don't own the land, the infrastructure pieces.
But the person owning the land, they're renting that from them, and a service is provided for rent. I can't support this. This is welfare. on the taxpayer's back. Hold those owners accountable.
Well, this
Or
first
fine
one,
them.
this first one is just for the inventorying piece of it. I feel that there's a benefit to that, to understand as a county where the needs are.
Inventorying who's in failure.
Yes, absolutely.
Is it
Maybe
only
the health
mobile home?
department should be doing that, or county, each town has a building inspector, right?
Some of them do. I will say that some of them don't necessarily do this piece. I think I guess that's part of in my mind, what helps the county here is that we.
How much power does this document right here give for spending? Is what I want to know. How much spending is attached to that?
Oh, this is just I think it's $50,000 grant for planning pieces.
Per planning piece,
For-
or
this is-
one $50,000 piece?
One $50,000 planning piece for the entire county.
Who's in charge of this?
And if awarded, it would go through my office. So I would be.
I think it's we're doing a lot of government stuff here. I really do. I think it's creating layers of people who should be doing their job and maybe blowing people in that are in non-compliance.
Well, this could be an accountability structure that we don't currently have.
But it's more people, more hires, more paperwork. And you got all your towns and villages, maybe they should be on notice that they should check if everyone is in compliance.
Sure.
I don't like it at all.
I think you brought up a lot of really good points, Bree, that it doesn't seem, as you say, is it really fair to the taxpayers that
No.
got, they're not in now this is only for modular homes? It's only
These are
for-
trailer parks.
This is really yes.
These are cash cows.
Yeah, okay, so it's only in the trailer parks.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so, but now let's say that we get the 50,000 and get the survey. We find out all of the issues. Does that mean that million then comes to us to fix it?
So the million is a separate program. The million is the sewer or the septic program for those who are low to moderate income across the county. So this is a situation where you have some folks who, maybe they bought a home or something, they have money to do the inspection. So I think you can see more often. They get in there, they have to waive their inspection so they can finally buy a home. They get in there, now they've got a $30,000 septic tank issue.
But this is a home. That
These are-
million is going to go
These are
towards
homeowners.
homeowners, not mobile
Yes.
homes.
Or mobile home.
Well,
You just said that
the
earlier.
mobile parks are carved out of the million. So the 50 grand that we're going to do for the study is going to go to a separate application in the future. That would give us additional funds if we did that program. Now that program could also be applied for by the community, by the town or village it lives in. So we'll pick one. But if they were identified as having one of these parks and there's a municipal issue there, say water or say potentially sewer, some of the city ones are, that community could apply for these CDBG grant funds. These are, if you make no mistake, these are low-income funds that the federal government moves to state for a very specific purpose.
But those can be done at homes.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question. Tim, this resolution is for money to do inventory planning to identify the areas that are
Correct.
But only in mobile homes.
so only one, correct. Now, and it's designed to collect the information you need to then apply for that $1 million, right?
Well, no, the $1 million grant is an application that we already have information. We know there are needs.
Okay, I misread. Okay.
Yep.
Is this tied to a future grant to use the data that you have?
Not tied by any date.
I guess what I'm getting to is, once you've collected all this data, identified the areas that are out of compliance, is there anything stopping us from using that data to identify areas where enforcement needs to be done? To share it with the towns and our health.
I would say once we have that data, what we do with it at the county would be ours.
Violation of getting the grant, getting it, it's 50,000.
No, it's just a planning grant. So that's the foundational piece to do your sense. Without knowing what the need is, the state is not willing to fund education.
Okay, so we could
We
use that.
could use it for enforcement.
Yes, so we could use that information gathered from this survey for letting the towns know, we have identified you've got issues.
Okay, but more layers. Oh, we're busy. Now I need another hire in my office because we're going to oversee all this. Why aren't the towns doing their job? Why are we letting compliance slide? Another thing I have a question on is 51% funded mixed-use housing. Is that the correct term for it? What's my exact term?
I would say it's low to moderate income.
low to moderate. Can you
LMI?
tell me those numbers? What's the cutoff?
Don't know off the top of my head. I think it's 60% of area median income, but I can double check that.
60% of,
Yeah, so typically it's somewhere around, depending on the family size, it changes based on the family size. It's somewhere around, say, 55,000 for a four-member family, somewhere in that range.
I am told right now we're writing HUD things for $1,800 a month apartments here in Oswego.
I can get you the
I'm
information.
gonna find out
Yeah,
too, but it
feel free
was
to give me a
told
call
to
on
me
that.
by a superb source, and I will
So,
qualify that source. But my point on this question is we go crazy for this money, okay? We get this house. Everything we've got right now is not in compliance in the city of Oswego. And everything we have did not make the city of Oswego a better place, okay? We're unsophisticated enough to realize we're a dumping ground, area code 212. There's a bunch of area codes that are very bad. We're getting dumped on, and it's a known fact. How come none of the bottoms of any of these properties are rented out, which were part of their pilot? Who enforces it? How long does it take to enforce? I've asked for the contracts. I can't get my hands on them, but I know I'm the Lone Ranger that everybody wants to take a shot at, probably literally in a short time. But the bottom line is I'm tighter and more center line than anybody maybe in this room. And I'm very concerned about the taxpayers' money. What I do with mine is up to me. But when it's someone else's money, I am deeply concerned, especially when we have benefits and privileges that the average taxpayer can't hope for. Ultra platinum insurance, this, that, and the other thing. I just feel this scares me. Everybody gets enticed by the millions. Then we get some very nasty lashback. Ask your police. I've talked to city police. They've had to go on shifts. They've had to pay them more money. It is, as I've been told, a shit show. Right from the police. So, I mean, we're stressing DSS, which is already stressed. We're stressing police. We're stressing the residents. I just want to know how this is enforced. Maybe these people should pay their full taxes because they didn't fulfill what they told us they would do and rent the bottom of these properties. I'm done.
Marie, one correction, I do believe we have something, IDA is working on something for, a restaurant that will be coming in.
I'll get to it
It's
during
only
my
taking
point.
years, but okay.
Okay, it is, they're moving, and Austin, when he talks, he'll give you a little bit more information about exactly what's going to go on in the bond.
The one out here, you just hand them flak jackets before they go in and maybe a police escort, but other than that, you'd be fine.
Okay, well, does anybody else have any or other questions on the resolution in front of us to approve $50,000 for a survey to find out exactly what are the needs of the mobile home parks in Oswego County? Roy?
We're not approving $50,000, but
Of approving the grant,
yes,
yes.
we are. That's all right. So the resolves here are just that Tim is able to go ahead and apply for this $50,000 to do this.
Yes.
It doesn't. This isn't the resolution that says we can apply for the $1 million, is it? Or is it?
I think
It
this
just says information about the
Yeah.
application.
That's just
This will be
information.
a separate.
You got it.
So all
Yeah.
we're voting on here
Yes.
is whether to do this, is whether to apply to do this study or not.
Yes.
And I think the study will be of value, as Tim has said, to understand what's going on.
Great.
Tim,
Yes, ma'am.
have you had estimates? Can this really be done? Oswego's a big county. For 50 grand, that's chump change. You can really find this all out for 50,000.
That is what our initial estimates have showed us.
Who gave you those?
Double check with that and find out for sure. That was what the program offers. I think that if it did not come in at the price that we expected, we could reconsider that. But my understanding is this isn't nearly as detailed as some of our other studies. Our infrastructure study, we go into the wastewater plants and you identify every single, update, thing like that.
Gonna dye test every one in the county?
I don't know, that would be part of the process. I don't have the answer of exactly what that would entail. We need to find out what the needs are in our county.
How many trailer parks?
55,
But
55.
50,000 on a couple.
But remember, it's anywhere there's three mobile homes, it's considered a park. It's not like a park with 60 or 70. So when I say 55 parks, it could be, I don't know how many of them are only 3.
The owner should be held accountable.
Ed?
Yeah, I agree, you make some excellent. Tim, do you feel with your current staffing, is this going to be a burden? I think you guys are getting tired.
yeah, I
Do you have the manpower
anticipate-
to?
Yeah, I mean, this would be we wouldn't do the survey. This would be contracted out to a vendor. They would be expected to handle that work for us.
Then you'd stay within this budget?
That's the plan. Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't. I mean, I've never put out a countywide survey before. This is what the supposed to cost. Now, to be clear, this is also an application we're putting in for funding. The actual rules of the contract and govern it are all decided after the grant got awarded in our year, probably next year.
Okay, so just to be clear, we are doing a resolution to approve that Tim A is named the environmental, and B, that he will able to apply for this $50,000 survey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. EP4, resolution amending, reinstating, and accepting funding to continue the New York State Lake Ontario Septic System Replacement Program and associated program budget modification. This is, in 2018, we applied for motion. Second. In 2018, we applied for this grant. We got $150,000. It goes to those people that are on the lake and to see what they're septic. And we used it. We did a good job of it. And now they are saying that, gee, we've got another $100,000 that we would like to give Oswego. And this is accepting that $100,000 to go towards septic systems where people that are on the lake, if they need to have help. So we keep the lake clean. Any, right?
Okay, so this is, you have to be lakefront for that?
It has to be going into the lake, yes.
Yeah, so the state actually picks the perimeter, similar to what they did with the DRI, where they said, we will serve anything within this boundary. They have what they refer to as lakefront. We had tried to get tributaries included as well, because we know there's a need for septic system issues around tributaries. The state is very clear, we will serve only this specific area. And they gave us a perimeter, it's 3 miles from lake mouth, so actually less than that. It's not a huge perimeter.
3 miles from.
No, I misspoke. It's not that. I can give you the exact numbers on it, but I think it's hundreds of feet. It's not huge.
Again, it seems to me if a person has a lakefront property, they have septic issue, they should be able to handle it.
Yeah, typically we
Properties
share
worth-
this expense. So say it's a $15,000 expense to update their sewer or septic. They have raised bed issues, something like that. We would cover, I think typically our grants are around 12,000 total. Is that right? 10, 12, 10. So,
For lakefront property.
yes.
It's $10,000 per system is what we would give up to. And then they would have to match it.
Tim, can you confirm those people still also have to be LMI? We're not talking people who are millionaires. We're talking.
No, interestingly, this one is more environmentally. This is not income adjusted. It's environmental concern.
So if you're in a sensitive environmental area, say you've got hydric soils and you're surrounded by perhaps wetlands, that would be the type of property that's qualified.
This one is very specifically within a certain measurement level. I would argue, and did argue when we requested that to change our perimeter, that there are other areas just as sensitive, but they are very specific.
Is it within a certain amount of all along the lake shore, or there certain areas?
Yeah, there's a map. I should have brought a picture of the map. I
Can we
apologize.
get the map?
I will get that to you.
When can we get it?
Use the text map. I go right
How
now.
about the,
Will you? I'll get it for you. I have, again, we had a whole bunch of areas that we thought were sensitive.
There's no financial cutoff with this baby.
No, we had a few of them that were pretty confident did not get income. This one is, I would say that this one is not welfare. This one's fire.
This is corporate welfare. I just think it's wrong.
I don't think there's any businesses that volunteer, but
But, again,
giving government money to individuals.
you should take care of their property and maintaining it and not putting sewage into the road. Should arrest them if they do that. Not give up money. Ed?
Your office administers this.
Yes, that's right.
Are there requirements for contractors? If there's an arm's length deal between a homeowner.
That's a good question. Get the answer. My understanding is we still have our purchasing rules. Federal funds does have certain acquisition rules. I can double check that. I know that we had, I think we have some preferred vendors in the past, but double check that. I don't know the exact answer. I mean, everything that we do is still required for Dulles County purchasing, and unless we have federal funds or state funds, then we have to go work with theirs if they are in excess of ours. There is definitely a role how you handle those.
I could see this could be prime.
Hey, one last.
Yeah, I mean, again, federal government is the overseer of these things, and they are very specific. There's a lot of these.
I'm assuming there'd be an inspection.
Oh, yes, that's all.
Engineered plans, building permit, inspection, signed out by health, their engineer. So it's not like they could just do this.
Okay, great. Okay, last question, and I promise, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. Is this tied to past flooding?
I don't know that. This has been around since 19.
Around the flood.
So it could, it could have come from that. Now, I will say we did not apply for this. They just gave it to us. So it is something that is
It's
more.
gotta be tied.
It makes
flooding.
sense. It's not, within like the READY program or something like that, but it definitely is, it's targeted for that area around the lake.
Any other comments?
Do you know of any areas that you could point out that have received it, like road names?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've got a whole, we spent the whole first set of funding from 2019, recent time.
I mean, like
So-
in your head, can you think?
No, but the majority of the ones that I think were kind of toward that southern and eastern portion, heading up, kind of up into by Alaska. I think so. I have all the addresses. I can get you that information.
Give the map.
Get you the map and the addresses.
The two of them go right down to your office and see the maps.
I will get it. We have it.
Any other questions? Okay, those in favor? Opposed? Passed. Okay, EP5, resolution authorizing budgetary modifications, Department of Workforce Development to establish a separate account for WIOA funding. What it is that Rachel has met all the obligations for adult and dislocated workers spending criteria. And because she met all the criteria, they're going to give us $200,000 incentive funding. But in giving it to us, they say, we want accountability, so they have to have a separate account so that everything that goes into it is done, and everything going out of it will be all under one heading. It's going for on-job training and tuition.
I'll move it first. I'll second.
All those, have any questions regarding this? Great.
Will this segue people back to work?
Hopefully. That's the whole reason behind
What's the plan? How are you gonna do that?
Actually, the majority of this, so the funding, how they're giving this out is because, like Marie said, we met our 80% requirements for 22 and 23, 2 years in a row. So we got this funding just for services. Our plan right now is to use a majority of it for the City OC's LPN class that starts first week of August. The tuition for that class is over $14,000.
That's a great choice.
Yeah, so it's always our biggest class because we try to provide every person in the class funding for that. So we actually last week we finalized our end of year report. So we're gonna see where we're at, with all of our funding levels across all of our streams and see how much we want to make the maximum for those students, whether we do a max of 10,000, if for those that are eligible for Pell, it's the full 14, but to make it, you know, the least, of a cost burden to them as we can.
How many students do you typically get?
I know they are shooting for 30. We met with BOCES yesterday. Right now, they were looking at about 23, but we still got another month. So they're going to try to get as many as they can post that 30.
You put a splash in the paper or something, try to.
If they give us some information, we will. But they do send anyone that comes into BOCES for referral, they send them over to us for scholarship. And let them know that's across all of their adult programs that they do. And they did just graduate actually last Friday, the previous class. So there is eligible 7 LPNs and they all had employment upon graduation. Yeah, it's a great program.
Great program. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I do want to add that the other part is with this funding, creating a new account for the WIOA funding, this, we're actually going to end up with the new 2025 budget, putting all of our WIOA funding into this. DOL, when they did our audit this past year, strongly recommended that we split the funding that they oversee into its own separate account.
Very clean.
Yes. Yeah. So, yes.
That,
So will all of these funds be used for one-time expenses versus being used on a program that has to be sustained with other taxpayer funds that are?
Yeah, these are a one-time, whether it's one individual in an on-the-job training in that contract for their training duration or for the scholarships. We can also do support services with this, but these are going, this 200,000 is going right to the individual.
Troy? I just think it makes total sense. When you look at the funding sources for workforce development and how complicated some of them are, this makes total sense. And I think it'd be great that it's going for additional customer training. The whole customer training. Thank you.
Okay, so just to be clear, the resolution is to establish a separate account because DOL requires separate financial accounts. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. EP6, resolution authorizing budgetary modification to Department of Workforce Development to accept additional revenue for summer youth employment program. Basically, they got $60,000.93 more than what was budgeted, and it's basically just to accept the additional money. Motion? Second? Any comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Last one, EP7, resolution authorizing the creation of capital project T0124 to purchase 2 new large format plotters. Tim, do you want to explain the need for these plotters?
Okay, so we've been partnering for years with council villages to offer mapping services to them. We have a large form plotter printer. It's about 12 years old that we have used for that. Over the last couple of years, there's really been almost $2,500 per pairs that we've had to pay. They are no longer served or updated when they need to be for the software. And so we are looking in the planning office to replace the mapping. While we were doing that, we found out that the highway office, at the same time that we bought ours a decade ago, bought one for them as well. And theirs is having the same exact issues. They actually have, I believe Sean told me about a $1,200 bill that's outstanding if they choose to fix it. So the conversation was we replace both of them. This one has what this resolution is for the technology service.
Motion to discuss? Second. Anyone have questions as to the need for these plotters, I should say? Now, this is something that will help us with the towns, correct? If they need to have help in doing this comprehensive.
Absolutely. One of our main services that we offer to towns and villages is that we have this printer. this is something that you can get these printed out. Huge maps you've seen, those 4-foot back. And so we partnered, especially while they're doing their comprehensive plan updates, the department updated much of their mapping, and this is a way for us to get pressure class.
As we all know, when you look at these little maps, it's not very helpful. The big ones really tell us where everything is. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, resolutions are over. Let's go right into soil and water. Joe? Glad to see you, Joe. We haven't been here for a while.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. Thank you for having me. And I'll just go through and give a brief update on our programs and our different program areas. For education, in May we had the 32nd annual Oswego County Envirothon, and just like to thank you for recognizing the Oswego High School team for placing first in that event, and also they placed 10th out of 41 teams at the New York State Envirothon as well. So really great showing there. Really proud of that team. So we thank you for that. In September, we do have, just working on the planning right now for the 36th annual Conservation Field Days. That's an event where fifth graders there should be around 350 of those at Selkirk Shores, and they'll be going around to various conservation-related talks from volunteers. So there'll be agency staff there, volunteers from sportsmen's clubs and things of that nature. So that's a really interesting event, something they don't necessarily get in the schoolroom, and everything from recycling to the forestry to wetlands, you name it. Fish usually some hatchery folks there, things like that. So a great variety, and they see 5 different stations throughout the day. That's really good to do that. We are setting up a booth at the Oswego County Fair. Unmanned booth, static display, but we do have several literature, brochures, and such available to folks. They're the 3rd to the 7th. In agriculture, just working on an active AEM program. That's one of our main programs that we reach out to agricultural producers, and that's agricultural environmental management program. State funded program, so we do have funding for both our assistance in time as well as implementation. So right now, our staff is working with about a dozen active participants, various stages of planning. It's kind of a tiered approach, so they go through those different tiers. Some get planned for self-installation, and then we do have one that will be implemented in 2025, and that's a manure storage project. That's a big one, so that there's a lot of planning that goes into that this year, and then we'll implement that next year. There are some reimbursement funds available for testing, soil, plant manure, and compost testing. That's available to our AES participants. So if anyone is interested to get into that program, certainly have them look up. We did submit one application for the climate resiliency farming grant, and that was one farmer, a sheep farmer, to prescribe a rotational grazing system. Those awards will be announced in September, so hopefully that's another grant that we want to kind of get our feet wet with, and seems to be really increasing in popularity, and there's a lot of knowledge about it now with ag producers. Starting to get folks reaching out to us about it with questions and things of that nature. So hopefully in the future we can we'll put a few more in. But I think with the staffing we did that, we'll put this year, and hopefully we're successful and be able to implement that. If not, then maybe other ways to work with that particular farmer. Our technical assistance and water quality work, lots going on there. There's always technical assistance requests from landowners for everything from environmental reviews to now it seems that with some major development in the area, or the onset of that, we have wetland mitigation seems to be a question we're getting asked about. Some consultants are out there looking at putting in wetlands, things like that. Lots of permitting questions, ponds. This time of year, it's always algae in our pond. What do we do about it? So that quite a bit of that pond installation. The permitting is a big thing. Lots of folks come to our office to ask, how do we navigate the permitting with the Army Corps and the DEC is not an easy feat. And so if they'll come to us, we'll explain the process. Whereas they may, it may take a little bit. The DC, those regulatory agencies are very busy reviewing and inspecting, for permitting and approval. So I think that does help kind of meld the two agencies together and help that, particular landowner, municipality, whatever the case may be. And right now we do have several assists that we're doing for permits. One agricultural producer, just the various projects that they come up with, municipalities. We have a large one that we're working on getting a permit, culvert installation up near the town of Williamstown, and so forth, and another recreational club, and I'm sure there'll be more to come, but those are usually ongoing for several months. Usually the bigger projects can take, at least 6 months, some of them more over a year, just with the communications back and forth and getting them the designs, in some cases, getting things engineered and things of that nature. We also have in the water quality realm a couple active grants that we're working on. One of them had this kind of the Plasky drainage project. We're this close to starting that. Next month we should be able to put an RFQ out to. We have a planning grant or a engineering grant to help them get some assistance with stormwater issues. So we'll be working on that here in the next month or so. And it should come to fruition at least to get a plan together in the next probably 6 months, I would say. So we're excited about that. A couple other things quick under that category. We announced last year that we were working on a 9-element plan, watershed plan for the Sandy Creek area, and so that involved about 8 months of water testing and sampling, and that was sent to a lab in East Syracuse. The results are out on that, and now the plan is actually getting developed, and that's supposed to recommend certain best management practices and other things to, either maintain or better water quality. And that is, the attempt is to open up funding, and so that's the case. Usually, why an annual plan gets developed. And right now, we're adding to that. We just hired 2 conservation aid interns. 2 college students, and they're working on culvert surveying, and they just started today. We just spent the better part of the last few weeks here getting them trained on various things that our agency works on, and now they're up, should be up in the watershed as of today, and they're working on these culvert surveys to see where are there any issues between, essentially it's a connectivity study. So when you look at a culvert and you see the water pours out, and it takes it's a foot or 2 feet before it reaches the water. Pretty tough for native brook trout and other aquatic organisms to pass through that culvert. Terrestrial are fine, but as far as aquatic, that makes it difficult, or crush culverts. So we're identifying those in the future. That's hopefully we'll take that work elsewhere in various towns and probably get reports to different towns. But for now, we'll do that in the watershed. That'll be an appendix to a 9-element plan. And in the future, the idea is to be able to apply for WQIP funding and other grants to be able to help out municipalities with that sort of thing. We also we do have some involvement. There's another 9-element plan for the United Lake watershed. That's a big one. That's several counties, goes around the entire United Lake. And we do have some input into that. Right now, they're at the mod of what they do is input some various requests as far as the cost management practices. What would this practice do if we implemented it on 50% of the acreage? Things like that. So they're working on the modeling for that, but we do have some input as far as our knowledge of our part of the watershed. One other thing under that category would be our mosquito dump kits. We've partnered with the larvicide kits made for containerized water. We actually partnered with the health department this year, and we have some left over from last year. Over the last several years, we've had those available at the office, made them available to different towns. So they actually were able to receive funds from the state this year. So the town should have them for distribution to the public, as well as our office. And those are things that you put in, like I say, containerized water, and will help reduce that larva around the home or residential area. Our forestry. We have one big thing we're working on this year is the boundary maintenance and putting up signs all along the perimeter, the boundaries of each of the 2,200 acres of reforestation that the county owns. So they have been working on that, putting the signs up, painting the boundaries, and it's something that's makes it a little bit easier to have a little help to do that. It's a lot of miles traveled, but we are getting those signs up. We also do have a timber sale that we should be putting out here late August, early September, and then in other forestry things, just assisting the public, lots of calls for forest management planning and just taking a look at what resources do they have. Now a big push from the state. Everybody probably saw that announcement at one point or another that the governor is looking to get 25 million trees in the ground by 2033 or something like that. And with that said, there are a lot of agencies that are really kind of just sort of padding that funding a little bit to get more trees in the ground. There's the New York Regenerate New York, the Climate Resiliency Farming Grant. That there's a big forestry shack in there that actually I was one of the folks that worked with the state to put that together. I've been asked to teach at the state level 4 districts. I've been teaching classes over the last few years at the Water Quality Symposium and some of our other training sessions to get folks out there, planting to get trees in the ground. So they're really looking to do this on a large scale. The Nature Conservancy has been reaching out, and we've been talking. Perhaps, and there's some prep work that goes along with that. If we, I don't know if we'll how much we can get done. We'll probably have to outsource that as far as get some contractors to do the actual planning. A lot of planning goes in, but hopefully by 2026 we can get some trees in the ground. A lot of like fallow areas and things like that are being part of a farm or part of another property. And then last, the invasive species. We're out there doing the surveying and control of giant hogweed. So there's 60 sites. It's probably down now. It might even be close to like 2/3 of that or half that we're really actually looking at and actually treating. Probably around half of that we're actually treating. A lot of them have become inactive, which is our goal. And then, so that ends in about July. That's when really they kind of become unrecognizable. They start to deteriorate, but we should have gotten the majority of them by then. So we have a really decent program going with that. And then the water chestnut. So that has been quite successful. A couple of years ago, you probably remember I just presented on switching over to a drone for the herbicide treatment. So we've done all of our work. There's a lot of permitting. In fact, I think there's about 5 permits we need just to put the treatment on the water, then another 3 or 4 for the hand pulling. But we do have both programs going. But as I said, the drone, we noticed that in 2022 they tried that for the first time. I believe it's probably the first aquatic treatment in the state with using a drone. And it was Trace Chiefs Enterprises that we work with to do that. That worked out really well. It's just it's a different angle. There's really no angle to the water. It's a straight down application. A little less disturbance to the chestnut. It's just become really effective. And so we noticed a pretty drastic decline the next year. We actually went exclusively to that, and it's been really working. And this year, I believe that acreage will be significantly reduced. I don't know what that means yet, but from what we're seeing, if you drive, let's say you drive 48 from Meadow to Fulton, you'll see some of the patches. They're really used to be right in Minetto. There was 2 very dense patches looked like you could walk across, and now it's really scattered plants. Like probably 1 plant here, 1 where Mary Ellen is, 1 on the other side of the room, kind of thing. So in order to get that, we use college interns. We have 7 this year. We have canoes, a boat. We use a variety of different techniques to get them, but essentially we're trying to get all those scattered plants, and then wherever you have a nice patch that we do treat, we try and clean up the edges of that. So it's going very well. I don't know how much we'll treat, but towards the end of the summer or fall, I'll be able to report on that. It seems like it's been pretty successful. So.
Very busy as always, taking care of our environment.
Great. Hey, it's a quick question, Joe.
Sure.
I love your presentation. Is there any funding available for the removal of the tremendous amount of large dead ash trees and plans for like tree replacement of them with native trees?
There are tree planting grants on a small scale. Not that I know of. In a municipal way, potentially. I think there's an urban forestry grant that the state puts out. and I believe that does have ash mitigation, but for the general, the homeowner,
Yeah.
not that I know of. It depends on where they are. There's a few things I could look into. There are some tree planting.
How successful is ash tree injection with partial canopy depth?
I believe it has to have 75% of the canopy. So if it has less than that, and right now, I would say the vast majority of them out there in this county, especially on like where, Oswego area, are really planted pretty fast.
The minute you told me I injected, I have a specimen over 100 feet, looks like out of a magazine. But I religiously had Bartlett's do it every time I said. Would you consider working with school science teachers to do some tree planting?
Sure.
Grace Creek, where also I planted tons of swamp pine. And they have all kinds of seedlings started and needed species, but maybe that board would be helpful for your town.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'd get in touch or reach out to them. I'm happy to talk to them.
I know Joe goes to a lot of conventions and stuff and teaches different things, and he is a forester, or would you call it a forester?
Yep. Yeah, I've got training before. I'm a
Yes.
certified.
And
forester
isn't it
as well.
that you cover more than just Oswego because there's not that many of them around?
So I have, and in the past I've done some of the EQIP. It's a federal program. I did work with it kind of lined us up there, I think, through the DC, but, and I kind of worked out of the county a little bit on certain things. But no, as far as I pretty much, focus on Oswego County, but when we do, if we, let's say, teach a class, or I've worked with ag and markets on developing, on assisting with at least the, like the climate resiliency funding. I've done some other work over the years about, developing like the tier 2 part of the AEM program for forestry and then some of that track. So lots of, a bunch of different classes. So that would be at the state level. But I definitely had folks reach out to us from across the state for various forestry things, and I have gone and helped. It's more of a rather than just going out of county, it's more of an intermunicipal agreement between two districts. So yeah, I've definitely done that before.
Ed?
Have you had any involvement with the dam project in Class Track?
I've heard about it, and I've had the state reached out to us a little bit, a conversation, but no, I haven't. I think they reached out initially. I think I've had some discussions about it, but no, I'm not really sure where. I think it's gone, right? They took it out.
No, there's a plan to remove it.
Oh, okay. I thought they had already removed it.
I mean, it's a minimum dam cost on Spring Brook,
Okay,
just on the east side of 821.
okay.
So I think it's, that stream is extremely important to fishing. I think that was the original stocking stream for the Gulf. And the state's there now replacing all of the culverts underneath 81.
Okay.
But I've been asked to write a letter of support for the removal of the dam. I didn't get your permission.
I
I don't
haven't.
know why they want to remove it. I mean,
It's been a big,
it's not holding back a lot of water.
yeah, it's been a big push. We were involved in a couple grant applications that were not successful with U.S. Fish and Wildlife and a couple other agencies to remove the ones in Mexico. It's really just about that the connectivity. That's a big push by the state and other organizations, just to allow fish passage and further upstream or various places where historically it would have occurred. So I can definitely look into that a little bit.
Well,
I've
you
had
don't
communications
go your way, but you hear it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anyone have any? Roy?
So have you been able to do any kind of an inventory on the loss of ash trees on our property that we own?
So we keep an inventory. Honestly, like we started when it first. We definitely have ash trees left, but how we kind of have managed that is we started when it was first announced. We started removing them when they were mature. So in order to not essentially disrupt what we were trying to do. If we were thinning, we obviously wouldn't favor, an ash tree, rather remove that and try to let the growth around it improve. So we really started that pretty immediately once the talk started, here's the plan, here's what you should do as a landowner. We started implementing that over time, like closer to 15 years ago, honestly. And, came to our county in 2018. So it's gone through it pretty quickly. So as far as do we have some up, we absolutely do. But it was
I was
either,
really
but it's
asking
not.
on the loss rather than what's left.
Oh, well, and that's the, no, I haven't, but it'll be pretty minimal because I tried to
Okay,
keep
yeah,
those.
well, that's good. So how does that affect, so the timber sale that you're gonna do, that goes out to bid
It does. Yep. So
based on individual parcels or just a bunch of parcels or?
So we have the one. So what we do is usually each year we'll do. It's could be up to like say 50 or 75 acres. Usually they're pretty minimal. It depends on the fractions we're doing. We mark the trees. We come up with a volume. And we package that together in a bid, and then we work with purchasing to get that put out to various vendors. And we have a very broad list of vendors, but we usually keep it pretty tight because usually we have some restrictions on what kind of equipment they may want. The local vendors, when I first started, we used to send 50, 75, and we get like two back. So we kind of work with those that are actually that are active, have the insurance required and such.
Sure. The question is, yes, question. Why would we cut down for
It's kind of like if you look at it like a garden. If you don't weed your garden, the produce yield will be pretty low. So you can actually improve the growth by thinning inside the living.
So you farm the trees.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tree by tree selection, so we cover pretty much every inch of the property. And then we do need it to be sustainable. So if it's I may do a heavy cut, and if that's the reason to get more solar energy on the ground. Let the seed that's in there, or seed that will fall, regenerate, and that's how you establish a new stand or a new age class, depending on the stand.
Any other questions for Joe? Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you
Great
very
job.
much.
Okay, Austin, Operation Oswego County update.
Okay. So some of the people in the room have already seen this, but I'm going to get these and have to pass them around. So first thing I was going to report on is the Operation Oswego County annual meeting, which took place on June 13th, or last month. Highlights of that, so what I'm passing around right now is the 2023 annual report. Some of the information in that was reported on during the meeting, but I also want to give some information on things that took place here in 2024. So highlights of the annual meeting included, keynote speaker was Joseph Pacer from Constellation Energy. He gave an overview of Constellation, the economic impact they have on Oswego County as well as New York State, and sort of their plans going forward. It was an interesting presentation. Also, the economic development highlights presentation, which included 33 projects, over $130 million capital investment, 630 jobs created retained across the target industries: manufacturing, energy, tourism, agribusiness, and healthcare. Also, other highlights of the annual meeting included the election of the new board president of Operation Oswego County, Pete Cullinan, and the new vice president of Operation Oswego County, John Sarpia Ford. There was an election of 5 new board members: Ryan Malone of W. Malone, Colin Palm of the Fulton Companies, Rachel Pierce of Oswego County Workforce New York, Tom Roman of Fulton Savings Bank, and Joe DeMars of Kuplaki. And also the retirement of 5 board members: Vince Liddell, Joe McConnell, Dave Turner, Joe Salato, and Tim Hardy. We also, just to kind of wrap up about the annual meeting, there were 5 awards provided that were given to businesses, organizations, and individuals making a difference in economic development in Oswego County. The 2024 Ally Award was given to Onondaga SVDC. For those who were here at our last meeting, remember we actually had a representative of Onondaga SVDC come and talk about the services that they provide and have been ramping up here in Oswego County. Other awards was the 2024 Business Excellence Award was provided to Group 3 Pediatrics. The 2024 Jobs Award was provided to Broadwell Hospitality Group. The 2024 Entrepreneur Award was Dr. Allie Hawthorne of Highland Animal Hospital. And the 2024 Martin Rose Economic Development Merit Award was provided to Len Schick, who was actually here this morning, so good timing from that perspective. So that is that. I'll move on, and we can just, have any questions on stuff at the end. But at the IDA last month, an initial resolution was passed for NET and Dye and Fatco River and Glen Holdings for the redevelopment of the vacant 90,000 square foot Kmart in the city of Bolton, which is an expansion of a 3-generation owned local manufacturing company. The project will create and retain 33 full-time jobs, 3 part-time jobs in the city of Bolton. It will also revitalize a building that's been vacant for 8 years and generate new taxes and potential pilot payments. It hasn't been approved fully yet. For a facility that is currently 100% exempt because it's owned by college. A public hearing will be held for that project on July 17th at 10 a.m. at Bolton City Hall for the project. And public hearing notices are going out today to all the taxing authorities, and that is in Legislator Consiglia's district, so I'll be reaching out to him personally to get his thoughts on that project. We'll say it is a very good project, it's a good manufacturing project. That is to keep a manufacturer in the city of Bolton, and they will be creating and keeping jobs in a stressed community over there on the east side of the city of Bolton. Other things that have been going on at the IDA, 2 new project financings were also approved. Crawford Premier Landscaping in the town of Oswego was approved for a $25,000 micro enterprise loan. This is money that the IDA received through HUD, through the federal government decades ago. We created it into a revolving loan program. And people need to go through micro enterprise training, and they have to qualify. Either they are or the jobs they create are low to moderate income. So that's a good project. It's going to create 3 new full-time and 2 part-time jobs. Another project, and this is I think what Legislator Chesbrough was sort of talking about a little bit, is that the IDA also approved a $75,000 USDA IRT loan for a new restaurant that is called The Forge in the city of Oswego that will occupy space in the first floor of Harborview Square. It will create 3 full-time and 21 part-time jobs. That is a significant, while the IDA is putting $75,000 in financing, it is a significant project both on the developer as well as the landlord. It's about $1.1 million total to include significant building owner improvements. That project's also being supported by Pathfinder Bank and I believe the city of Oswego as well. So, other things going on, just to give you a heads up,
No, I just asked you which building is that, one by Gibby's.
That's the one over, yes, the one on the west side, yep. And then other things that we are working on right now, the IDA had also supported a few months ago Organic Earthling in the city of Oswego and Pink Variant, which is a 3D printing manufacturing company down in the Oswego County Industrial Park. We have a ribbon cutting scheduled for July 16th at 3 p.m. in the city of Oswego for Organic Earthling, and August 6th at 3 p.m. Down at the Industrial Park for Pink Variant. Invitations will be sent out to all county legislators as well as all local elected officials and project partners. Then the last thing I wanted to bring up, and it's very timely, is that next week myself and Chairman Weatherup will be attending SemiCon West, which is the world's largest semiconductor trade show. And we will be going there attending on behalf of Oswego County and talking to companies and partners about the benefits of locating and expanding their business or presence here in Oswego County. So we are really trying to ramp up and become aggressive in going after our target industries, especially with growth of the industrial park down in Schuylkill, as well as some of the other investments that are being made, both by the county and other partners. So time is right for us to get out there and tell that story.
We can't have just Onondaga County showing their face up there. We can't have Oswego County.
We can't rely that our partners and allies in other counties are telling our story for us. We can tell that story.
They couldn't even have the story without our water.
I know. Or
And our new plants.
Yeah. No, that is what. So it's a good point, Marie, you bring up. So when I go and talk to site selectors from around the U.S. or around the world, and you try to tell them about Oswego County, they're like, we don't know what that is. We don't know what that means. But you tell them, well, we're located on Lake Ontario. We have unlimited water, and we have 3 nuclear power plants that are making, altogether 5,500 megawatts of power. They can feed its attention pretty quick.
It should, yeah.
And the port. And the port. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm. So those are the things that when we talk to somebody that we don't know, we let them know, and they're like, okay, let's keep the conversation going.
That's why we need to be there to let people know,
Absolutely.
because Onondaga is certainly not going to be saying
They're not gonna-
anything about all our goodies.
They're not going to tell our story for us.
No. And we've got a story to tell.
Yep.
Anybody have any other questions, comments?
And Maria, I do have those pilot agreements you asked for. I'll give it to you before we leave.
Thank you. Okay, Rachel, workforce development. And before you go on, because I do not want to forget, anybody that knows this NISAC magazine, it is news for the New York State Association of Counties. Just happened to be that on page, let me see, what is it, 14, Oswego County has skills and the data to prove it, article by Rachel Pierce. You never even said anything to any of us that you wrote an article and it was accepted. Well done, ma'am. Well done. Okay.
Well, Bill and I also did a podcast that
All right.
Junction.
Those are influencers.
That was also in,
Yeah.
that same article was also in the Oswego County Business Magazine as well.
Excellent.
So
I want to thank Brian for contributing to that.
I did know.
On that note, with WorkKeys, we actually now have, starting in July, on our Career Center calendar, for folks coming in, they can sign up to take the assessments. We're setting up right now 2 days per month that people can come in, they register with us, and then they can sign up to take the assessments. After they get with an employment specialist in the office, see that it's going to be beneficial for them in whatever their career path is. And we are picking up the cost of it because since it does end up with a credential at the end, we can cover it via go-up funding, the $39. So that is starting. I actually haven't yet signed up, but they're there. As brought up earlier, the Summer Youth Employment Program, most of the placements, they are starting next Monday on the 8th. Because we did get an extra $60,000 this year, we are looking at about 100 youth that can be placed under state funding. With that, they have to be at the 200% poverty line for low income standards. We do have about 12 to 15 kids that have been rated, that have applied that are right above those standards. We are using a 400% qualification to place these kids using the investment from the ARPA funding from you all to be able to place these kids. Some of them, their household income is $4,000 to $5,000 over what the state sets as a requirement. So when it had been able to do that, which is great. And the $60,000 we are very thankful for that from the state. They finally listened after the last couple of years because as you increase minimum wage, you have to give us more money so that we can serve the same service. So it has stayed stagnant for the last 5 or 6 years. So this 60,000 was definitely beneficial moving forward. And we will have a very large group at Camp Hollis. We partner with the Youth Bureau to see which of their parks areas would get the most work. Camp Zerby, we are not able to do simply because we don't have one from that area that would be able to get there to be able to have a crew there. We are able to also place a crew at Granby School to fix up the trail that is there as well. So we're really happy to have those outdoor crews back this year because we were able to get staffing to be able to do that. And let's see, we've also been working with State DOL and connecting with businesses to grow the library that they have on their virtual reality headsets. Each area across the state has about 10 to 12 headsets that use for various events, whether it's career exploration or if you want to set up a training program using VR. So I had a conversation with them a few weeks ago, and we're going to start trying to get DOL into some of the local area businesses to be able to have these career exploration videos that are actually in the facilities. So right now I have interested Constellation, Novellus, Biospherics, and had conversations with Oswego Health to see what areas they would like to have on those videos as well. So it's with adults and kids so that they can get interested in that. It's pretty cool. They were telling me they followed around surgical tech down at a hospital in the city, and you can see it from start to finish what that person would do in their job. So it's pretty cool. So we're working with the businesses on that. The other big thing that we're working with all of the workforce development board directors, and this isn't just across the state, but WIOA reauthorization is with the judge. There are some things in it that are not very advantageous to us as a local area. The reauthorization bill that was pushed through Congress has been edited quite extensively in the Senate. They took out a 50% training requirement for YOLA funds, which is good, because if that had gone through, there are multiple career centers across the state that would have had to close because there wouldn't have been operational funding for it. We would have been okay, but that was taken out. But what has stayed in is an additional 10% withholding of funds that the governor can keep out. The governor can already keep out 15%, so this is an extra 10%. We, at least in New York State, right now have a governor that will put that money back out to the local areas in different grant programs. So if that is passed through in the Senate, I could see that money still being available for us to apply for certain projects. But other pieces of redesignation where governors they have the authority to redesignate how our money is split across the state and how our workforce development boards are made up across the counties. I have put forth with NIATEC, who is our the lobbying agency for New York State for all of the boards. We wouldn't want that. If you look on the map of how our workforce development boards in our area are separated, in our area, Oswego County and Onondaga County are the only single county areas. The rest are already paired up, or even three of them together. So I would foresee where Oswego could get lumped in with Onondaga County, which, as we all know, in various aspects would be detrimental to the funding that we would get in Oswego County. And I would also fight that in where you saw we got $200,000 in incentives because we met our spending requirements. Onondaga County did not get that. We are on track right now to get an additional set of funding at the end of this calendar year by meeting our performance measures. Onondaga County does not meet those either. So we are a higher performing county than they are and historically have been. But I absolutely would not want to be lumped in with that. We work very well with Center State's CEO, but not as well with CMI Works as our counterpart with WIOA funding. So
It's kind of like sharing tips when you're a waitress.
well,
You want to get your own tips that you earned.
yeah, and I see how it works because Portland and Cuyahoga County are combined. Portland County gets the funding. They allocate funding to Cuyahoga County. And Cuyahoga County runs out of money constantly because they're not getting what they need to serve their people. And if Onondaga County was the holder of all the WIOA funds, it would not be to our benefit because clearly they have, they get about $3 million a year from WIOA, where we get 1.2, 1.3 a year. So it's not even comparable now. But so there's been a lot of back and forth, signing on support letters and these are the things that workforce boards across the country don't want because obviously we're not the only ones having a situation like this. So I will keep you all up. Yeah.
So would it behoove us to do a resolution or something support letters.
Are we at that point where it's helpful?
I don't think it would at this point. I know the state aid, they had sent some support letters. It's with the Senate, already. They're trying to get this done or possible administration change. I got an email the other day that they were trying to get everything written up in the Senate before the July holiday. So
I think we'd be a day late, or short.
yeah, but I mean, all the information I just gave you, it's been going on and on and on. This is what could happen, then all of a sudden, Friday afternoon, I'm gonna say, this is happening, we need comments by Sunday. Like, it's not good.
Well,
If it passes,
that's the Senate still got to.
and I will say that right now, in our state, Governor Hope was very supportive of workforce development and how they are. So I wouldn't necessarily see a permanent of anything happening. It's just back up all if that.
So when it's in the other house, that tax works.
Then I'm not. Any other questions or comments? Great job as always, Rach. Okay, the motion is tourism department update.
All right, so Scott, I'm going to hand out just a kind of a summary sheet for all of the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So just kind of some quick updates for everyone here. All right, so big events from last month. Obviously, the Dr. Mary Walker event was huge. Biggest one in the history of the program for the coin reveal. So that was earlier this month. My tourism staff were instrumental in information on that, but also helping set it up through our tourism committee. Also, the Oswego County Historical Society wanted to make sure we let everyone know, if you haven't seen it, the security display piece for the Medal of Honor has been purchased. It's beautiful. And thanks again to the legislature for supporting. Oswego County Fair is coming up, starting tomorrow. Again, everyone is welcome to come out. Tomorrow is the elected folks' day, so please come on out if you can. It is back being a full event for 3rd through 7th, for 5 days again. And the handouts are here. Everyone get one. Everyone get a handout of the county fair.
That's right.
Everyone has one. Not we have a couple extra here. So, but check that out. Again, very jam-packed 5-day fair. So we will have folks from the tourism office and many of the other county offices out there tabling and presenting that. We also have upped our radio marketing. A little note on there about Harborfest and the county fair, as well as some Heritage Tourism Spotlight Series. I will not get into the transportation forum because I am sure there will be some of that coming shortly. So, but our folks have been very helpful in that as well. And then lastly, I want to make sure everybody knew that we put out about 10 public information releases every week. So they come out on Fridays. We push them out both on social media and through all the newspapers. So keep an ate on that. If there's something that that I think is very important, feel free to share that on your social media. So see that. But some of those things are just purely public information, and some of them are cool events that are coming and summaries of what people can do in Oswego County.
And we can go both ways, and as much as we know something's going on in our area, just to make sure that you're aware of it.
Yes.
So that you know, so that you can.
That's a great point. We are always looking for new groups. So if you've got some information that's coming up, you don't even need to give us a ton of heads up, but we appreciate a week if possible. And then we will make sure we get that out as part of our Friday. Outside of that, I got a little bit of update on some of our social media numbers. We had over almost 160,000 total post reach in Facebook. 15,000 engagements. That's kind of more than just I saw it and I care about it. I look at it and stuff over time. And we have another 154 new followers. Our Instagram went up about the same percentages this month. So those are pretty active, and that's relatively new. So we're growing that. But we've had some really cool photos that have been really blowing up out there. We have a picture of Sandy Island Beach during the heat wave. People are probably exhausted and sweating and wishing they were there. That had over 63,000 reach. That's pretty big. Also, we had Northern Lights over Alt Park that had 40,000, and our D-Day post had almost 30,000. So we have also been promoting County Fair, Oswego Pro-Am, and other things, including National Cheese Day. Excellent. That's our updates there.
I don't know if it goes through you or Phil. What is up with the filming?
Sure, we can absolutely give an update on that. So we are finalizing. I think we had mentioned that this school promotion is coming up here. We're working with a nationwide program to really highlight this community, this county. We have David Owen in my current office. We take his lead on that. That's the guy's piece. And we have put together, there'll be a one-day filming here in Oswego County in, what did he say, in August? No, February, I think it was August. And then they will work with us to put together the program, and it will be put out probably by the end of the year or early next year. You'll start seeing that on NPR as their little 6 and 7 minute spot at the end of their shows. They pick 1 or 2 of these entire countrywide and pick it up this year. So it's a very exciting thing. Each NPR location, whoever's in charge of deciding the programming for that community, will be receiving this and have the ability to use this program at the end of their 52-minute show to fill the hour out. So the better our programming, the better they will use it. We have been told that we'll definitely get at least a couple spots on some bigger channels, Fox News, CNN, so we also will retain the rights to use these programs. They will also cut us a 30-second spot that we can use however we want. And again, we do have final review rights of whatever it is in this program. So it's a really exciting program. Very excited that we are going to be here. I think it's going to be pretty incredible. If you get a chance to check out some of the other, I can send you some of that if you'd like to look at what they've done in the past.
Yes.
But it's really a cool program.
Now the 30-second, we put that on our website.
Yeah, we absolutely can use however we like. So we can put together, I think there's also going to be a 3-minute or a 2-minute spot that we can use, and then there's the longer version, which will be their full program that they have at the end of
We should have it at the beginning of the ledger meeting when it starts to show it.
Yeah, I think it's finalized by the end of the year, we hope, and going live early next year. So we would probably be able to use it in one of our first next year.
And that would be something that Austin would be able to use when going to conventions and stuff. These 2-3 minute things that we have that are
I like it.
filming.
And again, these are professionally done. This is a nationwide company that does these things.
That'd be really cool.
And I'll give you a quick update on manufacturing. I know we've talked about that quite a bit. Our second quarters just came in, and we are up from last year, which was the highest we've ever been. We're up another 5,000 this year. So again, people are continuing to come to our community and stay in our hotels. We'll give a quick update. The state, and you probably saw, is changing the way that they're hoping to. Both houses passed it. The governor has not signed it yet into law. Would change the fact that Airbnbs and VRBOs now will have to pay sales tax. People don't realize that we don't collect sales tax on those short-term rentals. Hotels have to pay. People using hotels have to pay short-term rentals. Loophole that the state is looking to close, and it would allow us as a county to receive sales tax revenue, about 4% on every dollar. In addition to that, we're obviously talking about also adding the bed tax. It's part of the conversation. Our electeds are looking to carry that for us next year in state law. So that would be a huge boon to our tourism.
So sales tax is passed both houses, waiting for the governor, and the Airbnb will not be presented until next year.
No, because we have to change our local law, or our local law that's carried state law in order to allow us to accept it.
When did we change that law?
It'll be when the session starts.
We've been trying to change it since 2007.
I know, but I mean, but he's saying we have to change it before they can do it?
Well, when I say we, the state will have to carry the language change to update state law, what we would like.
I just didn't know if the cart's head of the horse or, which we had to do first.
Tim, this will not force us into huge tax rates like on the hotel. Their taxes will remain the same on its Airbnb and.
Well, these are sales tax, so it's.
I understand,
Okay.
but we have huge property tax.
To the hotels.
Right, we won't be forced into doing that on these properties.
No, in fact, I don't even know if they'd be eligible.
I don't know if they make sense financially for the size of the projects to apply for those types of benefits. So none have approached us.
One of the other interesting things is the state is going to be required, I guess that's how you feel about this, the state will be requiring a inventory list that the state will keep up of all Airbnbs and VRBOs in the state. which they don't
It's a
currently.
safety thing for firing.
Great point. It would help. I think it will help the building developer enforcement.
I just want to say, I think it'll help for multiple reasons. If the county can do this, one, it puts them on an equal playing field with the hotels, which currently, people take a look at this, well, I'm only having to pay this, and then I'm looking at this and I'm paying that, and it gives them an unfair advantage of sort of like a business that's like, not playing by the same rules. And then also this is, hypothetically, but this should help to reduce some pressure on people taking homes, cottages, things like that, turning them into Airbnbs, taking properties out of the housing stock, because now they'll actually have to pay other fees, things like that they're currently not doing. So it should, in theory, help the the housing stock. I mean, one of my questions, Tim, is there any understanding of how many properties in Oswego County are either on a percentage base or just the volume of how many are Airbnbs or BRB?
Yeah, so we actually did contract with a company that does like an online scrubbing, they call it, where you go online and they search and they can tell you how many people are putting up properties for Airbnb rentals. We estimate that, this is a little aggressive, but they estimate there's somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 of bed tax revenue that's uncollected due to Airbnbs. That's 4% of the total. So if you, what's it, Justice County? So
Tim, wouldn't it make sense if we had a local law that required like a $25 license to the county clerk for all Airbnbs who would sell inventory?
that's a great question.
Cheap.
And that has come up in other communities. That is something that a county could look at doing. It's some sort of a registration or a permit.
And I mean, there's other codes attached to that, which gives them a list, because you don't necessarily know how many
You
people.
would think the municipal demand on need, if there's more people saying that more back and forth, there's probably going to be more municipal needs, right? And so some communities have said, we want to know where they are, you need to sign up, and there's a fee for it, because it's going to cost us more to serve your home. So it's definitely something that the leadership of the county could look at doing.
Be a self-inventory issue.
Well, I think with the state creating this new list, we will, as a county, now know for sure. Because they are required, similar to every other entity, they're required to register with the state, Department of State. So it's something you can look at.
Did you say you had a number of the actual number of vacation rentals?
I could get you, I think it's somewhere around 500, but I'll have to get you, that's just from memory. I haven't looked at it. The dollars are the big piece, though. $250,000 a year of expected revenue.
It's difficult to figure out.
We know that for agents. We just got to get our legislators to carry it to the state.
It's difficult too, because some of them are full-time rentals where that's, they just own it as a rental, as an investment property, and that's all they do. There's other ones where, it's a second home and they rent it when it's, they're not using it. And then there's other ones where maybe they just rent a bedroom out or something while they're still living there. So there's varying levels of this. And I think that the whole idea of Airbnb to start was a way to make income on your home that you're living in. And it's kind of turned into something completely unrelated to that.
Okay. Any other questions? In regards to tourism? Okay. Did you segue into planning?
Yeah, so we're planning, really our big stuff right now, we have been working with a number of departments in this county to look at doing CFA applications. One of the things the legislature did by bringing on the grant writer was give, I think, some really excellent opportunities for these department heads to look at doing things maybe that they haven't been able to do in the past. So we've had about a half-hour meeting with almost every department in the county, the department head and any of the employees that they want to be part of it, look at their vision for the year, what would we do if we had $1 million, right? What are things that we haven't been proactive about? Because honestly, we're dealing with stuff today. It's hard for us to look at what we can in the future. And with the grant writers, they can come along and hear the story, and then it immediately puts them into, oh, I know about this great grant program. That could be a good option here. The CFAs are the annual process the state puts out to give its money away, our money back, through grants. So as a county, we've done a few in the past. We haven't done a ton. Sometimes it's because we don't know about it. Sometimes it's because we haven't had the administrative time to put the application in. And honestly, sometimes it's because even if we get the money, we may not have the workforce being able to work because of the needs. Yeah. So anyway, that has been part of the conversation currently. I know Phil's been working on countywide and have a bigger umbrella plan, but I've been meeting with every department head to there's really cool, exciting things that have come out of it. I know Rachel's working on a few things. The health department has a couple. I know the highway and DMG have had some interesting conversations recently. Youth Bureau, we're putting in the application for state parks. But there's It's been a conversation across the board. So our department's looking at this. We expect to have 2 or 3 going.
Is the grant worker full-time?
They're contracted, so they are contracted, they are providing us tracking. I can say in our previous contract, but the other vendor, we just paid a monthly fee, and at the end of the year, we can see what we got for it. This grant writer has been much more willing to be accountable, and has given us reporting of contacts, department heads, communications they've done. Actually asked for a very thorough, he'll ask me to put together a thorough accounting of what they've been doing for the money. But there is no requirement. There's no, you must do at least 11 hours or whatever it is. They receive a monthly check. But I will tell you, they have that available after hours. They come on site if needed. They've met with every department head whenever. They have been really willing to go beyond. In fact, they've even been willing to talk to accountability leadership to help them start to get an idea of where they want to go. So it's been a great partnership so far.
One of the changes we made is to how departments request capital projects. They're completing a questionnaire to provide as much detailed information on the capital project as possible. Budget that will not only come to me, now will also be fed to the grant writer to try to identify funding sources for these capital projects. It's a
Great idea. Just let them know everything's going on. You have anything else?
Other than that, we have had a number of conversations with towns and villages and their leadership about the overall comprehensive plan. We had more interest than I even expected from town supervisors, from planning board chairs. We had talked about this legislature had indicated they were interested in having a little bit of funds that we could help them for their local share of their planning. So a lot of times it's transit comprehensive planning or $80,000 total cost. The state will usually fund up to 90%. The thought would be that community would split the difference with us out of our funds in the legislature. So again, that as a reminder, those ARPA funds need to be committed by the end of this year. And so I have put a little bit of urgency to some of these supervisors to let us know their plans so that we can help fund that before the end of this year. But that has really been taking off. Some accountabilities that I never expected or really had no conversation with in the past are starting to reach out and talk about planning. So they're seeing it. The plan already planned, they're seeing it.
Excellent.
And then the pro-housing community designation thing that we've been talking about for a number of months has also been a pretty hot topic. The state is saying that if you want to be eligible for certain grant funds, you need to have that designation or at least that application in the hopper by the end of July. So we have had that in the city of Fulton, had a number of conversations with the councilabilities.
What is the percentage that has accepted it, you know?
Well, currently, there's only one completed and one that is in the hopper, but there are at least, I would say, 8 that are strongly considering putting in the letter of interest.
Okay. Now, do we have to have the majority of them accepted in order for us as a county?
No, so the way it's going to work is that if we look to do a project in a community and that community does have the designation, then we are going to be treated based on theirs. If we're looking to do a project that is not in the designation, then that would be held against our project, or can be, I should say. They haven't necessarily said we as a county are not eligible for one. So because of that, projects that we do in communities that are, would be seen as more favorable. And I will say if there's a project we're looking to do and it's a eligibility required, some are going to be a benefit, some are going to be required. If we're looking to do a project that is required to be, the community that we're looking to serve is not, we would not be.
Now, this is every year, so if they go through a year and all of a sudden they have lost money, they will realize a little bit differently, and perhaps the next year they may apply. It's not like you apply once and that's it. It's every year.
That's understand. There's an annual certification.
Okay.
They have current rules and the current rules. They have never said that they would not change that. The current rules are what we're talking about.
Okay. Anything else? Then, and I know I've got mobility management, but I'm sorry, Ed.
What level are you communicating with? Supervisor, or are you getting down to the planning board itself?
Well, so for example, I presented to the City of Fulton Council with the mayor. I've mostly talked to the supervisors, and we've also had a couple conversations with planning board chairs, if that made sense. But really, it has to come from the chief elected, the application. So that's the main thing why we thought.
No, I'm talking about Oh, comprehensive.
Oh, no, so we had sent out, through our planning office, a survey to planning board chairs, planning board members, to supervisors, to attorneys, if it made sense. And that was one of the questions that was on there, was, are you interested in comprehensive planning? When was your last plan updated? Are you interested in pro-house destination? You know, and we received somewhere around 15, 12, something like that. So up to 15 of our accountabilities that got back filled out our survey. So the deadline was just last Friday, so, you know, we actually had, like, Karen sent out a reminder for those who have not yet. So we're looking to get that in, but that went out to really a kind of a shotgun blast to try and get an understanding of whoever we get in. Because I'll be honest, some of these folks don't necessarily that frequently. So
Are you planning to actually go to them?
Yeah, we've offered that.
Or you want them to go?
No, we've offered that as needed. We're more than willing to attend any planning board meetings. Most of them, especially right now when it comes to these conversations, have been more interested in phone calls. But we have offered, in fact, one of our Karen planning has gone up to build last night planning meetings with Mexico. So we're going out if needed or interested. Right now, I think some of it is they're not quite sure where they want to be yet, so they haven't necessarily looked at the record in a public meeting. They're still interested.
Thank you.
One other thing is that it looks like we have another star here because weren't you just appointed to a state board?
That is true. I was appointed to the New York State for so.
So that's a great little thing that once again, Oswego has risen to the top. How many members are there?
20 members.
20 members on the board.
It is a on-site meeting in New York City quarterly.
So, yeah.
What's that? The assemblyman.
Nice. Very good.
Do they cover all your travel costs, or is that
We all know the answer to that question.
Okay. Any other questions for Tim? All right, moving right on. Mobility management.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, you guys got the new design?
Yes, I love chatting.
We're gonna be getting these out of the fair tomorrow. We do have a bus park there, so the bus that's running on the weekend shuttle is gonna be the fish bus. The one that we have parked is gonna be the lighthouse bus.
Oh,
So if you haven't seen that, it's gonna be parked right in front of where the cows are, across from the tourism building. They're parked today. But we've been getting a lot of feedback from riders that they are starting to notice the branding difference, separation between the vendor and the county services, which is what we want.
Yep.
So that's really good feedback that we're getting. Oh, I didn't realize we had our own.
I've been saying for years.
I did have my quarterly meeting with Centro. I go down to their boardroom, I sit with all 5 of their members, and I talk to them about what's been going on here and what we'd like to see happen at Centro. So Centro did inform me that they are going to be expanding their routes into Phoenix. So I think that's great, having some expansion of routes. I did also heavily talk to them about express routes, rapid transit routes that have less stops in between from our county to Onondaga County, especially where my Mike and Amazon are. They seem very receptive of that. They're going to start working on that. So it's very appreciative to have that meeting and very interested in their initiatives to move next. We've received bus stop signs. So we've had capital funding since about 2017 that the state has been encouraging us to spend. So we've had a lot of missing bus stop signs or just lack of bus stop signs along our routes. So we've now received those and we're going to start installing them to make sure that we can.
Do they have any kind of connection, signs to, you know, like you've got logo basically?
Yeah. So the signs are still blue and white, but we did update the accessibility logo. There's a new accessibility logo where the wheelchair is facing a little bit forward. So those have all been updated for compliance. But
so maybe we could add a little branding to it.
we can. They're blue and white. Centros are also blue and white. So we'll take a look at that more before we order the next batch.
Cool if you can make a bus-shaped sign and make it red.
There you go.
And then just put a number on it. People will not forget that.
Safety and Traffic Board did let us know that they are going after grants to provide helmets for the road sweepers to make sure that we can have better safety initiatives. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Our new buses arrived. So we ordered 3 buses. They're actually in between. We have cutaways, which are 16 passenger, and then we have our large Freightliner buses, which are 32 passenger. These are right smack dab in the middle. So they're a little bit larger than our cutaways to make sure that we can transport more people, but not as large as our Freightliner. And those buses, we have 2 out of the 3 getting wrapped right now. So we're still waiting on the last one, but those should be on the road the next couple weeks, which is great for us because some of our buses are 300,000 miles and dying. So we want to get those ones retired. They probably won't pass the DOT pressure.
So what happens to the senior buses as they go offline?
Yeah, so we can auction the buses off, and if they are auctioned for under $5,000, then we can keep the proceeds and put them towards transportation. Anything over $5,000, we have to give 80% of that amount over $5,000 back to the state. So I did ask them about that because we had some older buses that have been sitting on the lot for a while that we need to retire. So
Now you just have an auction just for that?
Just for the buses. Our forum went really, really well. We had 6 transportation vendors table and provide information. We had our buses parked out front. Central also brought one of their buses, so we had 3 buses in the lot for people to take a look at. We had testimonial speakers come and talk about their experience with transit. And we also had work groups. We had about 60 people attend, and there were work groups of about 6 to 8 people, which talked about what's been working, what do we need improvement on, and what would you like to see in the future. And we're compiling all those notes together right now, and we're going to do an updated press release on the results of that. But the majority of that information for the forum is going to be used to update our coordinated transportation plan, which was created in 2019 and released in 2020. So it's time for an update with that plan, and we have a lot of community feedback from many different people and grassroots ideas that are going to be heavily influenced for that plan, which is amazing. For scooters. This is just such a love-hate relationship. These are contracts with the city of Oswego and the city of Fulton, so it's not a county contract including scooters. However, we wanted to educate the public on them because we don't have any material besides this new brochure that we did create to talk about them. We want to make sure that people are safe, and I'm so glad that there's a helmet initiative happening. But I'm going to hand this over to Kristen to talk a little bit about what we did with these first scooters.
So we had that we're using this as like outreach. So I said, okay, it's my brochure. Yes, Bird doesn't have the brochure. I looked online or something. So I decided to create this, just pieces from online that I found. That's PowerPoint. So on the front, you just have a QR code. Well, obviously, it says like Oswego and Fulton, so it shows what cities they're in. The QR code goes through the app, so people can scan it, download the app. Inside it explains what bird is. It also explains the geofencing. Still go on how they work, get how they're trapped, and know you can rescue them at your house if we know where they are. I also put in community access fees. There's bird access program for riders, so it's a little bit that are eligible. There's also community pricing, which is discounted rides for veterans. I also made a QR code that goes straight to the application online. So access, and then also how you use them. How to find a scooter, safety tips, scan and go. I also put pieces on here like how to park your scooter, where to park your scooter, respectfully.
That's never done. No, they do it everywhere.
My question is, as they weave through traffic, if you hit one of them, what are the limits of liability?
It's a really good question for people in the city of Oswego to look into.
They're thrown everywhere. They're strewn along sidewalks. It's just a matter of time somebody breaks a leg or something. Personally, I'm for gathering them all and chucking them in the river, but it's a horrible exposure for liability.
People also leave them in bus stops and other things.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Because that's
Right, safety on these scooters. People do use them to connect to buses, so that's why I have like a love-hate relationship with them.
There's a lot of mules with big backpacks on them.
I've been really looking into a bike share program. There's initiatives with Bird on a bike share program where there's specific stations we can set up to dock bikes, and it will not stop charging the customer until they return the bike to a docking station, which we can put by public transit. So I've been looking into more of that option because we did put a lot of bike racks on our buses, which we never did before. And if they're required to go, if we put some in like Hannibal where there's limited, they can go 25 miles on an electric charge. They also have the option to pedal. So if somebody gets stuck, and that way they have to return them to a docking station or we designate it instead of.
Did you say we're giving a different price for low income or is it one price across the board?
So there is an initiative that's through Bird that they can get them if they're on any type of public assistance. They can get the scooters for $5 a month and use them for about 30 minutes a day. But that's not through us. Again, that's what they have with the cities. We're just here to make sure people know how to use them, promote safety, and make sure that people are getting helmets.
Roy?
So I guess I'm not exactly sure why we're doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, yes, we are doing mobility management for the counties, and this is part of it, but shouldn't we have something on here that says, you know, contact City of Fulton with any questions, problems, anything, liability issues? I mean, I think, you know, this hasn't out yet, right?
No, we can add that to make sure that people have a contact number for both.
I think it should be very clear that it
How about
was.
let the city, I agree with Roy, brace yourself for Fulton or Oswego, and don't have any attachment to this because you're welcoming liability.
We don't have, the reason why I like to have some type of information on it is because we don't have a first mile, last mile solutions yet. There's a lot of people that have difficulty connecting to the buses, and they are using the scooters to get to the buses.
Well, let the city.
Okay.
I asked Rich. What's Rich's opinion on it?
You know, and I agree with you, Craig, that the issues, when you take responsibility for things, it implies that you have some liability for it. I mean, the example I have, you know, the village of Cleveland used to plow a park that was owned by DEC. And there were signs that said no swimming, and a kid went out and swam and stood up on one of these old piles. His foot went into the pile, he broke his leg. They sued the village. So but you know, and then when, you know, we were liable, we ended up having to settle, you know, because the insurance company said, well, it's going to cost us too much to defend you. So they gave the kid like $35,000. And on the suit again, I don't know how it went against the state. He probably won against the state as well. But only because we plowed the parking lot as a village. You know, so
They'll sue the whole food chain.
Yeah, it's goofy. Yeah. So I think we just have to be careful that we don't. I mean, we should offer these, maybe some assistance to the city of Fulton to put these out, but I don't think we should
Have our name on it.
Or we should be the ones that are.
There is nothing on here.
Don't
There's nothing on here that says.
I agree with the reasons that you want to do it, and I understand that. I just think because we had nothing to do with it, we have to be careful that we're not creating some kind of liability issue.
We are.
What is that QR code?
It's just the website.
It's the Bird itself website, right?
So if basically if you could give this to Oswego and Fulton, say, here's an idea, guys, you should do something like this, but we can't do it.
Both of contact it, or we'll ask them what's on here, and then we'll get them directed to the cities to ship it on their own.
We can't really be connected to this because I understand it's a liability. Because I can't believe more people haven't got hurt yet.
Well, who would
I
take
think
the
we
printing
don't hear that.
distribution?
We'll just get them the draft version and the digital version, and then they can print.
Yeah, here's an idea. You guys need to get this information out for the safety of people or whatever. There it is. We have nothing to do with it. It's your ball game.
Yeah, we'll give some to the traffic safety board too, since they're just easily.
We need to ask Rich before we do anything. It's kind of sad that this company doesn't have their own flyer, because they're the ones making money.
Yeah.
It's true.
I don't understand why they didn't. I mean, my gosh, I mean, to know this, a lot of people don't want to go through a QR and all that kind of stuff. This is great information. It really is. I knew nothing about these things. I've seen them. It's a great job on it, but I got to worry about the liability of us being connected.
Take them to the cities.
Is health committee canceled?
Yes.
Okay, so we're good.
No quarrel.
So there's no deadline.
We'll be quick, we'll be quick.
I
So,
was going to say, geez, nobody's coming in.
No, don't feel pressure. Just do your thing.
um,
It's good information.
this is just a draft, but this is a draft schedule for 3 park and ride locations to the New York State Fair. Central has given me, we told them, that they don't want to bring their park and ride location back because we only had 800 to 900 riders. And that's low, although I did mention to them our county does have a lot less people living here than their county does. And they also said that they're having, issues with getting drivers to park and ride. So I said, let's just figure out a way to do it ourselves. But it would be 2 Saturdays. They have 2 Saturdays for the fair. So it would be something that starts really small to see, toss the waters and see how it goes. But 1 4K, the community college, Oswego High School, and then the Central Square Walmart. And that's because they're large areas where people can park their cars, and they're also in different areas of our county. I wanted to make sure we set something up in Central Square because we want to make sure we go to other areas of our county outside of Oswego and Fulton. But this is just a draft. I wanted you guys to see where we were with this project. So we do have drafts of this, and we've been communicating with the fair on where we got the residents off that don't interfere with their residents. So it's still a work in progress.
Question, you've got to go, okay, going from Fulton and going from Oswego, you're going right through Phoenix. Is there any possibility, because they used to have a drop in Phoenix, that they would pick up people in Phoenix.
Do you have a location?
Yeah, they did it on the island. They did it on the island. Trying to think, I know I could see where they were doing it. Or even the mall, the Three Rivers Mall there. You've got that huge parking lot. That could be something, because I do know that Phoenix did have it, that's what I'm just saying.
Great. Okay, guys, sorry to revisit this, but I just found a very important item. This is a very long contract, but are you aware that you're entering into binding arbitration with this? That you cannot go in front of any judge, court, or agency, and they shall have exclusive authority to resolve all disputes arising out of or relating to interpretation, anything that happens to it. That dismemberment, anything. So you can't go in front of a judge. Going in front of binding arbitration that they've set up.
Is this for the scooters?
For
For the cities or something?
for anybody that gets,
Anybody that rides
that's
them?
going to do any legal anything. This is binding arbitration. We need to talk to Rich immediately and distance ourselves from this immediately.
So
Well,
that's the agreement of writers.
If you start reading this, now this is a giant agreement. If you scan the, I'm trying to power read a lot here, and I will read it later, but when you get to the class action waiver and everything, I really think he needs to review this. Because in my experience, anytime there's binding arbitration, things like that happen in Texas and contracts that want to avoid going in front of a judge. It makes me very nervous from a business standpoint. So I wouldn't have anything to do with this right now.
We could give it over to the cities.
Yeah.
You don't need to do anything.
Get out of it.
Their contracts are with the cities and they have those contracts, so.
Now we understand why she has a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Rights to recovery. So, we are going to be presenting at the NISAM conference. We were asked to present on our rights to recovery program specifically. So this is a conference that's specifically for the mobility managers and transit professionals in New York State. So I did put together some data so you guys can see percentage of people using this program for employment, recovery, legal, Department of Social Services, food sources. The main thing about this is during our testimonials that we had at the forum, Victory Transformation did say that 10 out of 11 of the men at their shelter are in the Rights to Recovery program, are now employed and moving on. So they had a lot of different stories about how each of those men got to their employment and how they, been working on construction sites and different things like that. But this is just some data so you guys can see where that funding is going. The most this program is being used for, about 40%, is for employment transportation.
When we're in our public safety meeting yesterday, committee meeting, it was brought up that mental health ambulances were actually being used to transport these people to for recovery and things. And I said, well, what about rights recovery? And they knew nothing about it because the ambulances are no longer doing it. And now emergency management is looking into it. And I said something about they should contact you because is this something that you could help with the mental health situation?
So mental health is eligible for rights to recovery, just like substance use disorder is. But there is a different caveat to that conversation because they're referencing emergency situations.
If it's an emergency that they're going to hurt themselves or others, ambulance will take them. But these are the people that are just taking it because I'm voluntarily saying, yeah, okay, help me out here a little bit. I just need a ride. They're using it to actually just give them rides, not that I'm really in a crisis mode. When I'm in a crisis mode, yes, ambulance is doing it. But now there's voluntary and involuntary, and that's what they're coming across. If you're in crisis, we will, but we're no longer going to be a free taxi, basically.
Yeah, they did attend the forum, and they had mentioned that their local police do have to handcuff the individuals in the vehicle, which is also not great for mental health when transporting them. That's what they require, is that the individual be handcuffed in the back of the police vehicle. So there is situations where ambulances cannot transport, and they move to police that will come out. So those are emergency situations, but if there's a situation where somebody needs to get to a facility, like a rehab facility, Helio Health has a 24-hour transportation service that can get people inside and outside of the county to emergency recovery.
But I'm going to connect you and Kathy because she was talking about, and I said, but she had no idea what rights recovery was.
You can take them to their recovery, like related appointments, their therapists and things like that. That's absolutely an eligible trip type.
Yes, that's what I thought. And she was like, oh, and I go, well, okay.
Yes, and there's been a lot of filtration because the Mental Hygiene Network also has the Mental Hygiene Transportation Program, which is also for mental hygiene, mental health, and substance use clients. We both use the same vendor, which is Catholic Charities. And so what we've been doing is when we get a rights to recovery referral, they analyze it. If somebody is eligible for that other service, they have that client fill out the application for the mental hygiene transportation. The main difference is that rights to recovery can do employment. Mental hygiene transport cannot do employment. But if they are eligible for that, we want them to use that service because it's a different funding source for grant funding, and we want to make sure that the person is going to the right program. So they are covered. This is our master list that we have released at the beginning of the year for all of the transportation resources in the county. I'm bringing this back up because we added an additional page, which you'll see here, just to make it a little bit easier for folks to read. So what we did was we created categories: employment, medical, food sources, education, and housing. and it tells you what service can provide that type of transport and if it goes inside or outside of the county. So if you are looking for employment, it will list every transportation resource that is able to transfer you to employment. And then if you want to know more information, you can go back onto the master region. More information about that service, but
Bird scooters.
yeah, we can take that off.
Yeah.
But that just makes it a little bit easier for people to search through what they need for transport.
Thank you. That's good.
Thank you for all of your great work. Is there any way the senior citizens check that out? Get like a little poster or something about the rides to the farmers market?
Yeah, so we've stopped at Minetta Senior Housing. They are on the route this year for the Oswego market.
A lot of them are aware of it. I just thought maybe.
Yes, we have put out a yard sign in front, so it says Oswego shuttle stops here for the farmers market, and their building manager has also put out the posters in their lobby as well as individual brochures for each resident.
Thank you. They'll love that.
They're excited. We do other things for seniors, and we just wanted to put this in here that this is an example of other services that we help with. We did a trip for Fulton, and then this is for Towpath Towers. When they reach out and they say, hey, we want to have lunch at Rudy's and go to Ontario Orchards for the day, we reach out to sponsors like Pathfinder Bank to sponsor the bus and coordinate the trip. So this is just an example of some of these side trips that we do for seniors. And then lastly, we just created a flyer for access. We have brochures that are really wordy because we have to have ADA regulations in these. So we wanted to create something that's a little bit more simple for the public. So we have this flyer that goes along with the brochures now that just promotes the access service, which is where you can reserve the bus to go back home. So it's just another marketing flyer that we created for service.
How do you make know that app? That app? What's that?
Yeah, so we just put in the request to prepare our tablets for the drivers so that we can get that app on. But we're still in the implementation phase. It's taking a long time to get all of our pen and paper data into a digital form. This is years of routing and years of data that has not been in a digital form, and that's what's taking so long is the fact that there's a hefty amount of stuff that's just, it's all manual entry and it's being created from scratch. But we did put in the request a couple days ago for the tablets procurement. Tablets are 13 years old and they're not moving for public transit right now. And we need to have the tablets to house the software. So we are moving along with the hardware and getting them mounted in the buses to prepare to house that software. But yes, we're still getting everything pen and paper data transferred over into the system right now. We did meet, yeah, it's very tedious, but we did meet with the emergency management team in our basement and had a great idea that their emergency routes for when there's a nuclear, well, hopefully we don't ever do that, but if there is, their route, instead of giving the drivers a 75 route binder that they have to flip through while they're trying to evacuate, we can download those routes all in the software. Use that.
Heather, can you PDF, send PDFs via email, anything that has to do with access?
All right. Anybody have any questions for Heather?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Second. Great meeting again. A lot of information. Wow.
Next question.
Thank you.